The meeting of the Board of Regents, State of Iowa for November 14th, 2019 will come to order. I will begin by calling the roll. Regent Lindemeyer.
Here.
Regent Butker.
Here.
Regent Barker.
Here.
Regent Dunkel.
Here.
Regent Bates.
Here.
Regent Least.
Here.
Regent County.
Here.
Regent Dakovich.
Here.
Regent Richards is present. We have a quorum, and the meeting can proceed. Moving on to the consent agenda, are there items the board members would like to remove from the consent agenda for a separate vote? A motion and a second are required to approve and receive items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Regent Dunkel, who didn't have her speaker on. Okay. A second?
Second.
Regent Least. Okay. Any discussion? Proceed with the roll call vote. Regent Least?
Yes.
Regent Dunkel?
Yes.
Regent Lindemeyer?
Yes.
Regent Barker?
Yes.
Regent County?
Yes.
Regent Dakovich?
Yes.
Regent Bates?
Yes.
Regent Butker?
Yes.
Regent Richards votes yes. The motion is approved. We have two senators, two legislators here. Senator Eric Giddens, could you raise your hand? Thank you. Thank you for being here. And Representative Bob Krasig. Krasig. Thank you. I'm going to take a couple minutes to deliver a short comment on accessibility. Today, I'd like to take a few moments to talk about accessibility to our public universities for Iowans. First priority of the board's strategic plan is ensuring access to education and student success. There are numerous objectives and metrics associated with this priority, but today I will address access specifically, how Iowans are admitted to our public universities. First, let's talk generally about the college admission process, which varies from school to school nationally. At one end of the spectrum is open admissions. Generally, colleges that follow this approach admit any student that has graduated from high school or received a GED. Most colleges in this category are community colleges or those that grant associate degrees. There are some, but not many, four-year colleges with this type of admission process. Institutions that are open admissions tend to have low tuition with very high state support. On the other end is a extremely selective, holistic view. In this approach, admission of students is done on a case-by-case basis. These colleges consider a wide variety of factors, including academic metrics and the student's personal attributes and experiences. Applicants may also need to write an admissions essay or be interviewed. Each school that uses holistic review as its base admissions standard might have different criteria and evaluation processes. But this process is selective and subjective. Ivy League schools represent an extreme example of selective holistic review. These institutions nearly always have much higher tuition as they limit the number of seats are available. There are many different places where colleges fall along the spectrum in between. With that as a backdrop, I want to address how Iowa's Regent universities handle admissions. Historically, the board has believed in broad access for Iowans using merit-based admissions process for automatic admission for Iowa students that demonstrate readiness to be successful. This approach goes back decades. Currently, for Iowa students, we use the Regent Admission Index. Any Iowa student who achieves a score of 245 is automatically admitted to any of the 3 Regent universities. Additionally, any Iowa student below 245 may be considered for admission by holistic review. As a board, we could choose a more selective, less transparent approach to admissions with a limit on how many qualified Iowa students our institutions will accept. Changing any part of this approach would likely raise our national rankings. Our graduation and retention rates are very good, but if we became more selective in admissions, they could go up even higher. We have not made that choice. Iowans pay taxes, and part of those taxes come to our universities through state appropriations. If we were to be more selective, fewer Iowans would be able to attend Iowa Regent universities. Because we rely on state appropriations, we do not believe this is the right approach. The board has attempted to keep tuition rates as predictable and as affordable as possible. Our resident undergraduate tuition rates are the lowest or nearly the lowest in each of the university's peer groups. The board's 5-year tuition model started last year provides stability and predictability for future tuition increases. As previous boards have decided for decades, it is this board's priority to keep our region universities accessible and affordable. We want every qualified Iowan who wishes to attend one of our schools to be able to do so. By keeping our approach and with sustained support from the state, we believe we are achieving that goal. Thank you. Now we'll have reports from the institutional heads, and I'd like to recognize each institution head on recent activities at each institution. We'll begin with President Nook.
Well, good morning, President Richards, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit about the University of Northern Iowa. Again, let me begin by welcoming you to the campus of the University of Northern Iowa. It's always a pleasure to have you on campus, to have you have the opportunity to talk with our students, faculty, staff. It's a pleasure again to welcome you. I want to start this morning talking a little bit about an announcement that will come out later today. For all of our universities, our donors and our alumni are critical to our operations. The funds that we receive in private gifts from donors and alumni help us add a lot of quality to our programs through support of faculty, support of our students in fellowships and scholarships. And today we're able to announce a major gift from an alum and his wife and also a person who has just been a tremendous asset to the university. Dave and Karen Takis have provided us with a $10 million gift, one of the larger gifts the university has ever received. Their gift will transform several things on our campus. Part of it is to support scholarships, some of which they've already had in place, to support faculty, and to support some of the building projects that we have in front of us as well, to help with those. One of those in particular, Dave has always had an interest in our campanile, and we've wanted to add a bell to the campanile for some time. It'll add about 200 songs to the repertoire of what can be played on that instrument. He also runs an engineering firm and is interested in helping us figure out how to build a practice carillon for that instrument, and exactly how we're going to get that bell into that bell tower, because it's not clear how that's going to work out. So his firm and his company is very excited about some of the projects that his funds will go to, and they want to help us with that as well. But we're extremely appreciative of all of our donors and our alums and the commitments that they make to our universities. But I want to take a moment today in particular to thank Dave and Karen Takis. Dave just stepped down as the chairman of our foundation board, and he is one of the co-chairs of our campaign steering committee. So Dave and Karen, thank you very much for your loyalty to the university and for your commitment. Got it right. Today I've organized my presentation around our strategic plan, and our strategic plan really is formed around 4 basic goals. The first and most important goal we list really as the roof of our little icon here, student success. Student success is what our university is all about. It is our focus, and it is really our only focus. There are lots of things we have to do to make sure that we reach our goals in student success, and some of the pillars that we've put together in this icon, our other goals, really are there to support the success of our students. It's important that we look at our strategic plan, I think, especially at this point, because we are at the midpoint. It's a strategic plan that stretches from 2017 to 2022, so we're exactly at the midpoint. Of course, some of the data needs to come in yet before we have that midpoint data, but we have started to look at that and to evaluate the programs and their effectiveness in helping us achieve some of these goals. We can tell you that in some cases, we have already managed to reach the goal that we have set in our metrics. In some cases, we are making good progress and on target to reach that goal. In other areas, we are not yet making enough progress to reach that goal, and in a couple of areas, we've actually gone a little bit backwards. That's the nature of our work. We're continuing to work on these and figure out which programs are making the most impact so that we can continue to move these forward in all areas. You can see a little bit of that evidence here in just a few of our student success metrics, including the rolling average of our 4-year graduation rate, which is clearly on track to reach the goal. We're at 41.6. Our target is 42. 3-year graduation rates for our transfer students are also on track. However, the percentage of minority students of the student body really isn't on track to reach our goal of 12%. There are a lot of work to be done in that particular area. Our first goal, again, is student success, and I want to share a couple stories with you today about students and the success they've had on our campus. Molly Sherman is a senior from North Liberty. She's majoring in psychology with an emphasis in biochemistry. Molly, as a high school student, wanted to be a doctor. And she had the opportunity to shadow a doctor, and that experience didn't go well. At the end of the day, the nurse told her that she was not cut out to be a medical student or to be a physician. She arrived, and that was her senior year. She arrived at the University of Northern Iowa as a music education major. That first semester in particular, seemed unsettled to her. And she moved around from a major or two and finally settled on psychology with an emphasis in biochemistry and made a commitment to go at least work toward medicine anyway. This past summer, between her junior and senior year, Molly had the opportunity to do an internship with Boston Hospitals. There were hundreds of students that applied and only 13 selected, which made her feel extremely confident in her abilities. When she was there, she did a mostly laboratory research on monkey brains and how they react to different stimulus, especially around emotions and things of that sort. But one day while she was there, an emergency patient came in, and she was all of a sudden caught up in the emergency room atmosphere as the doctors, the researchers, the nurses just quietly went about their tasks. She was blown away by the way she saw them unfold their knowledge in being able to help this patient and treat this patient. She said, "I became a fly on the wall." But it was also in that, as she watched them go through their jobs in this incredible silence and this incredible concentration, that she realized this is exactly what she wanted to do. And it was really a life-changing experience for her. This is something we hear all the time from our students who go out on internships and have the opportunity to do undergraduate research, whether they're with our faculty members or they head to other places to do undergraduate research during their summers. These are life-altering opportunities for them, and they come back with a renewed sense of purpose and a renewed sense of the importance of their education and the way that they can make a difference. Molly will be applying to graduate schools this year and medical schools this year, and we wish her all the best in the rest of her studies here, but also in her professional studies. So I want to introduce you to Al-Faisal, Luma, and Abdallah Yassan. They are 3/4 of a set of quadruplets. Their brother is a medical student back in their home country of Jordan. The three students came to the Midwest in 2016. When they were in Jordan, they wanted an international education, and they really wanted to look at the United States. And they did their homework, and they looked at the United States and gathered a bunch of information. But they wanted a place that felt like home, where the people would be welcoming, reach out to them, supportive. And their search quickly narrowed to the state of Iowa. And as they continued to look around, what they said is, "We heard good things about the area and that the people of the Midwest were lovely," Al-Faisal said. "Iowa stuck out during our filtration process because of the living costs, employment opportunities, employers, and the community colleges and universities." To them, then, they chose to come to Iowa. They did attend community college first. They are now all students in the College of Business Administration here at the University of Northern Iowa. They have been extremely active in our programs here, both at UNI Muslim Student Association, the Accounting Club, Business Student Ambassadors, Women in Business. Luma's been very involved in Women in Business, and Abdullah's been very involved in our Finance Club as well. The three plan to stay in the United States for at least the next decade after they graduate, which will happen this spring. Al-Faisal is planning to pursue a master's degree in accounting here at UNI, and Luma and Abdullah plan to pursue master's degrees in finance or perhaps enter the workforce. I'm waiting to see how it goes. Abdullah says, "At UNI, if you work hard, people here recognize you. That's the biggest thing that helps students be successful. It's recognition and dedication when they have the opportunity in front of them." So we wish Al-Faisal, Luma, and Abdullah all the best as they complete their studies here this year and continue them here as well and into the future with their careers. One of the entities that Luma was involved in was UNI's Women in Business. It is a student organization, and it is an incredible organization, primarily of women in the College of Business, promoting women in business. It is an organization that is built around the principles of synergy, professionalism, innovation, networking, development, leadership, and empowerment. One of their activities that I've had the opportunity to attend is each year they induct a group of women into the UNI Women's Business Hall of Fame. It's a remarkable ceremony and an opportunity for them to bring back alums, but not just alums of UNI, who have made a big impact in business, not just in the state of Iowa, but around the country. and have an opportunity to learn from them. The women who are being honored spend the day here, meet with students, and then are recognized at a luncheon on our campus as well. Just a remarkable program in a way for the people who have already made it to pass on encouragement and some of their wisdom and knowledge about the processes. Yakira Sanders graduated from UNI just last year, this past May, in social work. She's originally from Des Moines, and one of the reasons that I've chosen to highlight Yakira's path here is that she's currently a master's degree student at Iowa State University in their higher ed student affairs program. When Yakira came to the University of Northern Iowa, like many students, especially students of color, she wasn't certain of how things were going to go. It was a disorienting time. But she soon found herself through several of the projects that she was involved in. She came in through Jumpstart, our extended orientation program, and she found a great deal of support through that program and help. And she has become extremely engaged in programs on our campus, including helping with Jumpstart, our ethnic student promoters that help with our admissions process. She was a success coach in the Student Success and Retention Office, helping students learn study skills and how to be successful. She was our diversity director for the Northern Iowa Student Government Association. What she says is that it is through these programs, and especially the Black Student Union, that's where she says, that's where I found my community. I started to think of myself as a change agent. I wanted to become a leader and make changes on campus. It's exactly what Yakira did. I'm certain she's going to be doing the same thing at Iowa State and continue that throughout her life. She's an amazing young woman. She ended when, before she graduated, we have our highest award that we offer to students for leadership is the Lux Award. And this past year, Yakira was one of the recipients of the Lux Award. Just a phenomenal student. We look forward to watching her continue to grow and develop and where her profession and her life takes her as well. The first pillar, the second goal of our strategic plan is diversity and inclusion. We have looked at our data, and our data in this area is mixed. One of the things that I'll point out, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is that in particular on enrollment, while we have seen some nice gains, our enrollment has gone from about a little over 6% to a little over 10% in terms of minority enrollment. However, that rate of gain is slower than the rate of gain of minority students graduating from Iowa's high schools. In other words, while it looks like we're making good progress, our gap relative to the population is actually slipping. That's something we need to pay attention to. We've done some things to help improve our recruitment of minority students. We need to continue to focus on that. And our goal is to try to reach an enrollment within our university that mirrors not the population of the state of Iowa, but the population of the same age group as our students, in particular that 18 to 24-year-old age group. We have a good deal of work to do on that yet. At this point, we're in the middle of a campus climate survey that has been open to the campus for a while. It will be closing here soon. We'll take the results, take that information, put the results together from that survey. It is an electronic survey. We'll then put together a series of focus groups, meet with focus groups of different types, and take that information from both the climate survey, the focus groups, and hand that to a council that is currently being formed. It's the President's Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This will be a rather large group that will take information like this and then form from it our comprehensive diversity action plan and our recommitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion here on campus. The committee will be a place where students, faculty, and staff voices can be heard and can turn into actions through the diversity action plan. We are also looking at various training programs for faculty, staff, and student leaders. One of the issues that we do face is in the recruitment of individuals of color here on our campus, and their retention and promotion in both faculty and staff ranks. It's something that we have been working on for some time. Let me go back. Our second pillar, community engagement. It's a little harder to set some of the metrics there in community engagement, and what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through a few of the things that we're involved in at the moment. In our local community, one of the biggest issues we face as a community is around diversity and especially racial and ethnic diversity. 24/7 Wall Street ranked Waterloo and Cedar Falls, the metro area, a year ago the worst place in the U.S. for African Americans to live. This year, we have moved to number 3. The ranking really isn't important. What's important is what is behind that, the information that places our community, and to some extent our state, in that place. This year's report pointed out the disparate difference between African American educational levels and employment levels relative to whites, in particular whites, in our community. They pointed out that just over 19% of the African Americans in our community do not hold a high school diploma, and about the same number of our African American population is unemployed. At the same time, the numbers for whites are well over 90%, have a high school diploma, and our unemployment rate for whites is one of the lowest in the state, around 2%. There is a big gap. It's something that we as a community and we as a university have an obligation to take on. Some of the ways that we have reached out to be a part of this: we are part of the Future Ready Cedar Valley Summit that was held in November of last year. We were a partner and helped bring that together with over 275 employees. We worked with One Cedar Valley, which formed to unite organizations addressing barriers to employment, and formed a summit that it was focused on transportation, childcare, housing, education, transition out of prison, substance abuse, and other metrics. We have also engaged, we meaning the entire community, working with especially Grow Cedar Valley, several best practices research projects, working with the Urban Alliance in particular in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and what they were able to do to make headway in issues that they were facing in the city of Kalamazoo. We are currently developing plans and structures for change, and amongst a coalition of us that includes the University of Northern Iowa, Hawkeye Community College, Iowa Works, the City of Waterloo, Grow Cedar Valley, local employers, and Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa. Also the faith community here in the Cedar Valley. We've also been a partner and prime sponsor of the Economic Inclusion Summit, working along with especially the Grow Cedar Valley, our local Chamber of Commerce. This year, we hosted the Economic Summit and had 78 of our faculty and staff participated for professional development, and brought in an outside speaker to talk about how you can bring down some of the barriers to employment and promotion of people of diverse backgrounds within your organizations, whether those are employers and businesses or those are educational institutions and nonprofits. At the state level, we just recently announced our partnership with DMACC, an ongoing partnership that you will approve here in a little bit, to put one of our programs at the DMACC urban campus. The urban campus is located just north of 235 in downtown Des Moines. It is the first majority-minority college campus in the state. The average age of the students there are 28. Most of them are place-bound and not able to travel outside of the greater Des Moines area for college. We are starting by putting a person down there that will help recruit students into one of our online programs that has a great deal of flexibility in the degree outcomes, our Bachelor's of Liberal Studies, so that students will have a pathway to a 4-year degree and a degree that they can mold into something that will meet their professional and educational goals. At the national level, we're partnering with the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, ASCU, on a teacher prep program. Currently, teacher prep programs are under consideration and review as part of the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act. This past summer, actually early spring, we brought together a group of educational leaders that formed our National Advisory Board for the Center for Transformational Education to talk about what are the issues in teacher development and teacher education that are important and through which congressional action might be helpful, and how to continue to support the Teach Grant program. After that convening, we were asked by ASCU to present and to hold a session at their summer academic affairs meeting where we discussed this with other leaders from around the country. And then this fall at ASCU's annual meeting of presidents, the Council of State Representatives discussed what was going on, and we made a presentation to them to continue to build support for teacher development. ASCU institutions are institutions much like us. Nearly half of them started out as normal schools. All of them have had strong programs in teacher development at some point. These are the regional comprehensives of the United States. We are a group of institutions that do educate some of the larger percentages of our teachers in the country. So it really is our responsibility to take this task on. We have, however, been reached out to by universities that are much larger, Research One institutions throughout the country, and developing a great deal of support for the work in teacher development and support for that at the congressional level. And globally, we just signed an agreement about 3 weeks ago with Shanghai University of Engineering and Science in Shanghai. What we have signed is an agreement for a 2+2 program. Students will spend 2 years at Shanghai University of Engineering Science studying one of 4 areas of business, and then transfer to UNI for their junior and senior year and receive a degree from both institutions. I had a chance to meet with some of the first-year students at Shanghai University of Engineering and Science. Some of these students may well be in the program. I was impressed by how articulate they were, how good their English was. I've spoken to groups throughout China, educational groups throughout China. These students are top-notch. It's a great group to work with. Dr. Xia that you see in this picture joining me holding up our flag is a longtime partner of UNI. He was actually the president at Shanghai Dianji University when we signed our 2+2 agreement with them now nearly a decade ago, 8 years ago. So it's a great pleasure to be working with Dr. Xia on this program and provide these opportunities for his students. Part of this also, though, is they're making opportunities available for our students to travel there and study for a semester. Their courses are taught in English, or a year or 2 years. They're also making funds available for our faculty to serve there as invited scholars and guest scholars on their campus. So a great partnership with Shanghai University. Our second pillar of campus vitality, just wanted to show you a little data on electrical usage. As you can see, our electrical usage, as we've said over the years, has continued to come down. We really have had an emphasis on controlling our energy use. As you may remember, when we renovated Schindler Hall, we saw a 55% decrease in our energy budget for that building because of the energy efficient processes that we put in place, redoing the HVAC system, replacing all of the windows with high efficiency windows. Those sorts of things helped us greatly reduce the costs of operating on those buildings. It's one of the things we look at as we renovate each building is how can we drop our energy usage costs. It's part of what we're doing with the Industrial Technology Center and the renovation there. Also wanted to just update you on fundraising. I mentioned the gift from Karen and Dave Takis, and those aren't included in any of these numbers that you see up here. Our fundraising results are starting to come back up. Typically, we raise, on average, about $20 million a year at the university. We're already over that figure for this year and are looking at a banner year. Anytime there is a change in leadership, these things can dip a little bit. We saw that. They're coming back now that we've got leadership in the foundation in place. So good news, especially within the foundation. Our development officers, people in advancement are doing great work. I want to end with just a couple of alums that we've had the opportunity to meet recently as we've inducted them into Hall of Fames and things of that sort. Chris Hoffman's the head women's basketball coach at DePauw University. Her win-loss record at the end of the last season was 621 victories and 125 losses. She's won 2 Division III national titles and has been Division II Coach of the Year multiple times. She's an incredible woman. She has really just set the bar extremely high for women's basketball coaches at all levels, but especially at Division III. I was impressed when I had the opportunity to meet her, and during her induction into UNI's Athletics Hall of Fame this year, she made the statement that you see there. I came to UNI looking for a major and a place to play basketball, and I left with a life, and she certainly did. And she talked to her players, she talked so much, they talk about the way, not that she's taught them basketball skills, but life skills, and paid attention to their athletics and their professional development, as well as their basketball development. Dr. Emily Jones was back on campus as an inductee in the Eleanor Crawford and William Thrall Hall of Excellence in the Department of Kinesiology and Health and Recreation Community Services in the College of Education. She is currently a physical education teacher and program director at Illinois State University. She received her doctorate degree in kinesiology from the University of Georgia at Athens, and then joined the faculty at the University of Virginia. She's been a recipient of various faculty awards at the University of West Virginia, including Excellence in Research and Excellence in Teaching and Excellence in Service, plus the Grants Person of the Year Award. She's just had a remarkable career in health and physical education and dance. And as she said about our university, the faculty at UNI created space for students to lead. We were encouraged to collaborate. We worked to solve problems requiring us to transfer skills into different settings. She continues to teach that as she has moved on to become a faculty member now at Illinois State University. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Jim?
I'd just like to congratulate you on your collaboration with Shanghai University and particularly Des Moines Area Community College. I think that's going to be a success for you, and I pray for great success there and hope that it can be replicated to other parts of the state where they are devoid of a four-year opportunity at your price point as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Comments? Questions? Thank you, Dr. Dunn.
That's fine.
And now we would hear from Superintendent Gettle.
Good morning, President Richard and board members. It's a pleasure to be here again to give you an update on some of the activities, recent activities at Iowa School for the Deaf and Iowa Educational Services for the Blind Visually Impaired, and to also give you an update on our progress on our strategic plan from 2019. This year, the Great Plains Schools for the Deaf Athletic Conference moved to six-man action in football. For those of you that are unfamiliar with six-man rules, the game's played on an 80-yard field, and all players are eligible receivers. The quarterback has to hand off, pitch, or throw the ball before it can cross the scrimmage line. There has to be a gain of 15 yards for a first down. And a field goal is worth 4 points. A kick after a touchdown's worth 2, and then a run is worth 1. But it was a dry season for our football team. We only had 2 wins. However, one of those wins was on a day that was anything but dry. It was up in Delavan, Wisconsin, after a 5-inch rain. And that sloppy field didn't seem to interfere with our running game because we did put 53 points on the board. That's the way 6-man goes. Dale Carnegie Skills for Generation Next is designed to prepare young people for the real world. The program, supported by the Department for the Blind and Workforce Intervention Opportunities Act grant, helps students develop critical skills in the areas of self-confidence, communication, teamwork, leadership, and effective attitude management. The students in IES-BVI's 4+ program are participating in this 8-week series with goals of becoming more persuasive communicators, better decision makers when faced with difficult choices, and better able to confront problems and challenges in a more positive way. ISD faculty members Jen Herzog and Ashley Villaverde presented their strategies and success with the ST Math program at DevTech Math Conference in Houston last month. They have demonstrated solid gains in student achievement through the use of this program. The ST, or Spatial Temporal program, is research-based and teaches foundational math concepts visually. It then connects those concepts and ideas to symbols and language. With visual learning, students are better equipped to tackle unfamiliar math problems, recognize patterns, and build conceptual understanding. And without the typical barriers that are faced by students who learn, deaf students who learn English as a second language, math problems are accessible regardless of their ability to use the English language as a foundation for learning math. Homecoming 2019, we hosted the Missouri School for the Deaf this year, and our girls volleyball team battled it out, coming up short with a win in the third set, but overall they had a great season. The boys were challenged by a quick Missouri offense, and we didn't manage to put any points on the board, but there were lots of teachable moments both on offense and defense. And this year's national guest presenter and entertainer was a rap artist who goes by Wawa, and he describes himself as a performer who happens to be deaf. He led some student workshops in the morning on Friday and then put on a performance for an audience of about 200 in the evening. It was well received. You can go online and look him up if you'd like. Presents real positive messages through his performances, geared to help our students, deaf students in particular, understand that they do and do deserve to have great self-esteem if they just believe in themselves. That's his message. We also, our teachers put together a program and invited students from across Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota for the weekend's events, and we had 18 students that don't attend ISD come for homecoming. Mostly high school students. We provided the transportation. They stayed in the dorm, and then after the volleyball and football games, Saturday evening they had activities. They had a game truck come on campus. They had swimming and movies, and the mainstream students were given the opportunity to socialize with peers without barriers to communication that typically happen in a mainstream program in a public school. Now I want to switch over and talk a bit about our strategic plan progress on our goals from last year. The strategic plan for Iowa Educational Services for the Blind, Visually Impaired, and the Iowa School for the Deaf established 3 priorities with goals for ensuring student proficiency in reading and math, increasing constituent awareness and utilization of our programs and services, and promoting efficient use of agency resources to more effectively achieve our mission. The first goal establishes targets for participation in assessment and improved outcomes in reading and mathematics through the application of progress monitoring and implementation of research-based interventions leading to more effective instruction. ISBVI student outcomes for participation, that's participation in those screening assessments done annually where we're focusing on grades kindergarten through third for the early literacy implementation initiative here in Iowa. Our participation increased by 17% over our baseline from 2 years ago for the FAST assessment. And it increased 6% in the alternative assessment that's used for children with the most significant multiple disabilities. Student outcomes for the achievement in FAST decreased by 15%. You'll see on that chart there. I do want to note that out of the 137 students that our teachers provide services to in the public schools, 21 of those students are Braille readers, and Braille is not an accommodation that's included in the FAST assessment, so their scores aren't included. The number of students assessed by the FAST in the fall of 2018, or in the fall of 2018, was 72 students. The rest of the 137 students are children that took the alternate assessment. ISD student outcomes for achievement in progress monitoring, and there we use the measures of academic progress. There was overall growth in reading, or the growth in reading decreased by 2%. So 2% of the students taking the assessment didn't show growth this year over last year, and sat at 76% of our students. In math, we had an increase of 14%. So 95% of the students taking the MAP, and this is in the fall of year to year, showed growth over their previous test assessment score. That may relate to the ST Math program that we're using, but it's early for what we're doing in terms of tracking students with measured progress and using that program. A couple more years should bear out whether there really is an effective program for our kids that are deaf and hard of hearing. The professional development activities that support teacher effectiveness include utilizing research-based interventions such as the ST Math, really those that address the unique learning needs of our children who are deaf or blind, and then analyzing that student assessment data and applying it to the decisions that are made about which interventions our teachers use at ISD or which interventions the teachers in the public schools use with students who are blind, visually impaired, remembering that our itinerant teachers don't teach core. They go in to support the teachers who are instructing those students, usually in a general ed setting or sometimes in a special education classroom. Our second priority was for establishing a goal to increase the understanding and recognition and respect of the constituents that we serve, and for us, the special schools to be seen as a state resource for optimal education services for blind and deaf children. So the first phase, we did these structured interviews with constituents and established a baseline measurement about their awareness and perceptions of ISBVI and ISD. And then this last year, we had focus groups who helped select a brand name for the agencies, the joint agency of ISBVI and ISD. And going forward, that joint agency, the name selected is Iowa Education for Deaf and Blind. It matches our email extension that we're using now, and it's a little bit easier to say than 6 letters and 3 more letters. Then we worked with Juicebox to come up with a logo, and again, we had some focus groups a focus group that looked at some choices, and we've got one selected. We're still tweaking it, but we should have something to show you folks at the next meeting. And we're beginning the 3rd phase of the project, and this is probably the most important work, and that's really developing those stories and messages that connect with our constituents. And so we'll roll out a marketing plan in the spring or early summer of 2020. And then finally, priority 3, ISBVI and ISD established a goal to seek and implement common practices and shared service functions that strengthen operational efficiencies and effectiveness. This last year, that included aligning our human resource services under one director and a HR specialist. That resulted in savings of about $56,000 annually. Increasing the lease income from AmeriCorps by approximately $225,000, and then expanding the current contracts we have with leasers at ISD, and that brought in an additional $3,500 in lease revenue. We have an estimated ongoing annual savings and revenue combined of $628,000, remembering that $225,000 of that is in the increased lease for AmeriCorps. And that's my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Are there any questions of Superintendent Gallo?
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now we'd like to hear from President Harold, please.
President Richards and members of the board, we've had an exciting fall semester as we have celebrated many accomplishments across our campus. From the classroom to the lab to the playing field, Hawkeyes are succeeding every day, everywhere. As I've discussed before on our campus is focused on delivering results for our students and Iowans through implementation of our strategic plan. Our current strategic plan will keep our students in school, allow them to graduate in 4 years, and reduce their debt by, first of all, increasing experiential opportunities, internships, and mentoring. And then secondly, retaining and recruiting the best faculty. And then increasing peer-reviewed research, increasing citations, and increasing the national visibility of our faculty. And finally, increasing access to quality health care while playing our part in stimulating Iowa's economy. Over the past few years, we have built the mechanisms that will allow us to materially execute our strategic plan, and with your continued support, we will deliver. There are 2 key measurements that we monitor closely, informing us on how we are doing in retaining our students and graduating our students. First is our 4-year graduation rate, and the second is our second-year retention rate. The logic here is pretty simple. You can't graduate in 4 years if you don't stay in school, and we know that you are much more likely to graduate in 4 years if you stay through your second year. You see here on this chart that we have essentially plateaued in these efforts since 2009, with a point or 2 increase or decrease year by year. You see, this is starkly different, you'll notice, from our peers, especially in 4-year graduation rates. Let me be clear, as I've said before, this is unacceptable, and as an institution, we must address this. In that context, I'm excited by the programs that our provost has been developing with our deans, improving these numbers through intentional activities that will be a key focus and continue to be a key focus of our university and strategic plan moving forward. As you know, our strategic plan is set to expire in 2021. and the campus has recently initiated a new process to update that plan. This process will be open, transparent, and inclusive of shared governance throughout our campus, with a continued focus on 4 important areas. First and foremost, student success. Secondly, research and discovery. Thirdly, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And finally, engagement in our state and our nation. The UI started our process this year in the colleges and central service units. This will ensure that this is a bottom-up process, not a top-down process. A critical element of this process is ensuring transparency and clarity for you, our board, and all of our constituents, that is students, parents, Iowans, and alumni, so that we can make sure that they can make sure that we are spending their resources in ways that will improve student outcomes and the university's worldwide standing. As Tom Friedman has stated, a vision without resources is just hallucination. Our current strategic plan requires an investment of nearly $33 million per year. And we at the university view that as a shared investment between the university, students, and the state. The university, for its part, is committed to finding over a third, or $11 million per year, through realignment, savings, and other activities. This constant evaluation of what we are doing and how we are doing it allows the university to become more impactful in meeting our goals. But being merely more efficient is not enough and will not fund our strategy of improving outcomes for the long term. Therefore, we must have new, sustainable, and predictable resources in order to invest into our future and live up to our values. Predictability around tuition is exactly what you provided us in the last year, and it's provided our families and students with a real clear commitment of a 5-year tuition plan. Thank you. It's important. This 5-year tuition plan, as you know, is tied to an appropriation request, and long-term support from the state remains vital in executing our strategic plan. The $7 million request of additional resources from the state is part of this long-term support that is needed to ensure improved outcomes for our students. All this then still leaves a gap of approximately $15 million per year. In order to ensure that the UI strategic plan is resourced, the UI has spent the better part of the last year and a half engaged in an exploration of a so-called public-private partnership, or P3, with our UI utility system. First, today, the UI owns its utility system, which includes our power plant, water, chilled water, and tunnels. If the university completes this deal, the UI will still own that utility system. Let me say it again. If we complete this, we will still own it. You may be asking, therefore, what's the benefit to UI and/or its partner? The UI will receive an upfront payment that we would place in an endowment. The UI would then spend the proceeds from that endowment to fund our unfunded strategic plan, targeted, and very importantly, at improving student outcomes. The partner in this transaction would receive a steady financial return along with tax benefits that the university cannot obtain because we're a nonprofit entity. Again, this partnership is not a sale of the university's utility system, is not a strategy to eliminate employee jobs. In fact, if our employees do not want to join this new entity, they will have the opportunity to stay with the university. And the UI will not back up on its commitment to sustainability of being coal-free by 2025. And in fact, we will likely accelerate it if we pursue this transaction. As I previously stated, the proceeds of any partnership will be placed into an endowment, and only the proceeds would be spent. But to ensure we maximize the use of those proceeds, the UI is proposing to use an open and transparent grant process. First, anyone from our campus community could apply for a grant as long as it advances the strategic plan, and the grant could last up to 5 years. Second, we will use our existing Path Forward work groups and Path Forward steering committee to vet these proposals. These groups are populated with experts, shared governance, and UI leadership. By utilizing our budget process and budget review board, the entire campus will be fully integrated into the process. A strong culture needs to be transparent. have clear accountability, be flexible, and connect to the institution's strategy. And this is just what we're building at the University of Iowa. We expect this transparency and accountability to also enhance your ability to hold us accountable as we work to execute our strategic plan. Creating a culture of student success is a combination of recruiting and retaining excellent students as well as faculty. And it's also very important in the development of programs that provide needed student support. Earlier this fall, we were able to celebrate one of our latest faculty who was elected to one of the national academies, joining 22 other colleagues on our campus. As Dr. Jackson mentioned yesterday, Ted Abel, who was recruited to our university several years ago to lead the Iowa Neuroscience Institute, has already made his mark on our campus and within his discipline. His collaborative spirit has allowed the Neuroscience Institute to break down barriers on our campus, which has led to an enhanced relationship between many of our colleges and departments. This collaboration has also allowed students access to world-class research in our classrooms and in labs throughout our undergraduate program. Accessible faculty and experiential learning are key to keeping our students in school and graduating in 4 years. This is the culture that Ted is keeping and delivering on our campus. Thank you and congratulations, Ted. We're also building experiential opportunities directly into our classrooms through our world-renowned space program. By partnering with colleagues at Iowa State, our faculty have built a class that will allow our students to design and build instruments for space. That's right, if you want to design and build instruments that end up in space, you need to be a Hawkeye. This is what makes an education at a university like ours unique, exceedingly valuable, and so exciting. One will be hard-pressed to find any other institution that can provide this type of experiential learning, especially for undergraduates. We're also proud to celebrate yet another Big Ten championship. Our field hockey team, pictured here, once again, is at the top of the Big Ten and one of the finest in the nation. We couldn't be prouder of these wonderful women. Now I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Are there any questions for President Harold?
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, President Winterstein.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's great to be with you today. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to give an update on our strategic plan that runs from 2017 to 2022. As the state's only land-grant university, Iowa State's strategic plan advances our land-grant mission to create, share, and apply knowledge to make Iowa and the world a better place. In the docket, we provided you with a number of metrics and initiatives related to the 4 goals of our plan. And in this presentation, I would like to highlight some of the unique ways that we are serving our students and our state every day to make Iowa and the world a better place. So goal 1 is ensuring access to the Iowa State experience. The experience includes practical, global, and leadership opportunities to prepare our students for the 21st century. This experience also includes our growing culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, which we are integrating across the undergraduate curriculum. Last year, we graduated a record number of students in a record time. More than 6,900 undergraduates earned bachelor's degrees, and the average time to degree was 4.4 years. 95% of our graduates secure a job in their field or go on to graduate school or other professional schools within 6 months of getting their degree. This success is due in part to the high-impact practices they engage in during their time at Iowa State. High-impact practices include things like internships, undergraduate research, entrepreneurial programs, study abroad. 75% of our undergraduates complete 2 or more high-impact practices during the last 3 years. One example is the Joan Bice Tea Room in the College of Human Sciences. It's a picture 3rd from the left. This is a working restaurant that serves as a learning lab for our students in our hospitality management, culinary science, and dietetics programs. The students plan, prepare, and serve lunch every day by reservation or pre-order to faculty, staff, students, and visitors. And this week, the special was vegetable lasagna. As a part of the commitment to affordability and accessibility, we're also finding innovative ways to save students money on supplemental college costs. Last year, students saved $2 million on textbooks and other course materials, thanks to faculty adopting open educational resources for their courses. Goal 2 is enhancing Iowa State's research profile through diverse, interdisciplinary, and high-impact research. What makes research at Iowa State so exciting is the direct impact that it has right here in Iowa, making our people, communities, companies, and the economy healthier, stronger, and more productive. For example, Iowa State has taken a lead role in generating research, innovation, and collaboration in 3 platforms to grow the state's bioeconomy. Through our National Science Foundation Center for Biorenewable Chemicals and the ISU BioCentury Research Farm, Iowa State is working on a comprehensive system for producing bio-based chemicals. These chemicals can be used as petroleum alternatives in everything from building materials to personal care products. This past year, we were able to leverage new resources from the state to support a chief technology officer for this platform. The position is responsible for accelerating the transfer of new bio-based chemicals and product technologies to the commercial sector. We also established a seed grant program designed to create new industry-university collaboration. The other 2 platforms are precision and digital agriculture and vaccines and immunotherapeutics. In the past year, researchers at ISU's Nano Vaccine Institute earned $5.6 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health to develop a universal influenza vaccine. These vaccines would protect against a wide range of flu strains but do not require refrigeration. Collaboration is key to our research programs, and industry partnerships provide a mutual benefit to our faculty and students and Iowa companies. In total, 187 companies invested in Iowa State research in the last fiscal year. 28 of those companies are headquartered or have a significant presence in Iowa, and 10 have locations at the ISU Research Park. Overall, ISU researchers set a new record for external research funding, securing $261 million last year. This funding is reinvested to support things like graduate student education, equipment technology, collaborative innovation, and addresses complex problems and improves quality of life. That brings us to Goal 3, which captures Iowa State's efforts to improve the quality of life for all Iowans. We are making significant contributions every day through our economic development programs and extension and outreach efforts in all 99 counties. ISU's Economic Development Assistant Programs includes the Center for Industrial Research and Service and the Small Business Development Center that are housed at the ISU Research Park, but they reach companies and businesses in every Iowa county. Last year alone, CERIS served more than 1,700 Iowa businesses, helping create or retain 4,500 jobs and generating more than $419 million in total economic impact. The photo on the far left is from the opening of CERIS's new digital manufacturing lab in September. Thanks to a commitment from Alliant Energy, the new CERIS lab will allow Iowa manufacturers to experiment with cutting-edge technologies in a risk-free environment. CERIS experts also provide education about new and emerging technologies, such as collaborative robots and 3D scanners. Iowa State faculty continue to excel in transferring their research to the marketplace. Last year, ISU researchers submitted 165 intellectual property disclosures, which is essentially the first step in commercializing technology. Researchers also filed 98 new patent technologies applications and received 32 patents, improving our ranking, our worldwide ranking for number of U.S. patents to number 69. Our culture of innovation and entrepreneurship is strengthened by engaging our students and Iowans. More than 3,800 students enrolled in entrepreneurship-themed coursework last week. When you add in our engagement with recent graduates and other individuals who worked with Iowa State to launch their startups, grow their small businesses, or participate in entrepreneurial programs, that number grows to more than 10,000. Pictured third from the left is one of our Cyclone CEOs, Lauren Jones. She's a junior majoring in entrepreneurship. Her company is called The Modern Milkman. This is a food truck-style grocery service. It targets rural communities without an accessible grocery store, delivering the essentials like milk, bread, eggs, and produce. And earlier this week, the Princeton Review ranked Iowa State number 26 out of more than 300 universities as an outstanding choice for students that want to study entrepreneurship and innovation. This is the first time we submitted our data to the Princeton Review for this ranking, and we're going to be growing our ranking in the coming years. The ISU Research Park is flourishing with activity from startups and industry giants who want access to Iowa State talent and expertise. 17 new companies moved into the park last year, including Kent Corporation and Collins Aerospace. We now have a total of 96 companies located there, employing 2,250 Iowans. In our role as the state's only land-grant university, Iowa State has a unique and robust extension and outreach mission. With specialists in every single county, Iowa State provides a front-door access to services, research, and education to all Iowans. Last year, Iowa State University Extension and Outreach had 5.6 million contacts with Iowans, including face-to-face, web and social media interaction, and downloads and purchases of our educational materials. Each year, we reach nearly 100,000 youth through 4-H and youth development. One example is the 4-H Flex 2 Go program. This photo shows the students in the program getting a 360-degree video tour of a Rock Valley manufacturing plant in northwest Iowa. Students are learning what careers are available in modern manufacturing, and this program helps challenge their preconceived notions about the manufacturing industry. This partnership also supports the governor's Future Ready Iowa initiative. I would also like to highlight the great work of our Extension and Outreach Community Development Specialists. Last year, they helped 27 minority-owned businesses start or improve their businesses. And one of our aspirational goals is to make Iowa State University one of the most welcoming and inclusive campuses. Our efforts to advance this goal truly extend statewide through our extension and outreach programs in every county. 2 Iowa State extension and outreach programs have been recognized nationally in their success in improving the lives of Latinx youth in Iowa. Kimberly Greeter is an Iowa State professor in human development and family studies and family life extension specialist. She leads 2 programs that promote higher education and healthy life choices and provide access to resources, skill development, and support networks, reaching a combined 1,500 Iowa Latinx youth and their families. As a result of her work, Greeter was selected for the 2019 National Extension Diversity Award. This award is given by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Cooperative Extension, and the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities. Goal 4, which is enhancing and cultivating the Iowa State experience for our students, faculty, staff, and visitors, captures our on-campus efforts towards a goal of becoming the most welcoming and inclusive land-grant university. Last fall, the percent of students at Iowa State who identified as U.S. multicultural or international set a record at 24.5% of the student body. 28% of our faculty and staff are minority. But universities must do much more than simply recruit students from diverse backgrounds. At Iowa State, we are committed to ensuring that our students have the tools, resources, and support to work hard and be able to reach their full potential. During our student orientation program, Destination Iowa State, nearly 1,200 new students participated in a session called One Cyclone. This session shared lessons about diversity and the students' roles in creating an inclusive campus. Last spring, another 1,200 students, faculty, and staff participated in iScore, the Thomas L. Hill Iowa State Conference on Race and Ethnicity. This program has truly become a national model for other universities in creating a forum to talk about race and ethnicity issues. I also want to highlight the excellent work of our multicultural liaison officers. These are staff in every college who work hard every day to support and serve as advocates for our multicultural students. A couple of great examples for you. Carmen Flegg serves as the multicultural liaison in the College of Human Sciences. She led an effort to create a new learning community this year for students of color called Connect 4, and that's pictured on the left. This is an open forum to all first-year students of color in human sciences, focused on academic success, leadership, and networking. In the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, our multicultural liaison, Elizabeth Martinez-Poldowski, and Assistant Dean Theresa Cooper are engaged with a team called Lead It. That stands for Leaders Engaging in Agriculture, Diversity, Inclusion, and Trust. These student leaders serve as diversity liaisons to student organizations and departments in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. They also work closely with the dean and his leadership team. And last year, our multicultural liaison in several colleges teamed up with Deere & Company to create the ISU John Deere Emerging Leaders Program. This promotes leadership development and provides job shadowing experiences for multicultural scholars. This semester, we have been engaged with a new group on campus called Students Against Racism. We've had a number of meetings with the students to hear about their concerns, to hear about their stories, and they presented us with a list of their demands. Just yesterday, we responded to their demands, and those demands are now up on our Campus Climate webpage if you would like to access and see what our responses are. We value our students standing up against racism, and we stand with them in this fight. Finally, I would like to end my presentation by recognizing the 120th anniversary of one of the most iconic sounds on the Iowa State campus, the Stanton Memorial Carillon. It is housed in our equally iconic campanile. Pictured here is a 1/5 scale playable model. It was unveiled last month during a celebration concert to mark the 120th anniversary. 8 capstone classes consisting of nearly 100 students from several majors have worked on the project over the past 4 years, helping to design and build the model. Another class will now be tasked with creating the containers to pack and move the model. The portable carillon is 21.5 feet tall with 27 bells and working clocks on all 4 sides. Tinshy Tam, County Professor of Music, is the talented performer who plays the carillon every noon hour. Now this cyclone tradition can be shared across the state for special events, guest performances, I hope at county fairs. So what a wonderful way to celebrate that 120th anniversary. It's been a pleasure to give you an update on our strategic plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have today.
Thank you. Are there any questions for President Winterstein? Regent Barker?
Thank you. You mentioned a $2 million savings in moving to open educational resources. Do you expect additional savings there without a loss of quality in those materials?
So this is an effort that's driven by our faculty. Our faculty are very concerned about quality in the classroom and in the educational experiences for our students. So I can say very clearly that our faculty would not allow a decrease in quality. And yes, I believe we'll see additional savings as faculty see what the opportunity is out there in this area to truly reduce the cost of education for our students at Iowa State. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank each one of the institutional presidents for their presentations. Now I'd like to recognize Mary Braun who will introduce the next group of speakers.
Good morning. First off, Iowa's 3 public universities work diligently to develop breakthroughs to help to improve the state's economy through economic development, technology transfer, and commercialization of research. Their expertise and business assistance reaches all 99 counties of Iowa. The numbers, as outlined in our docket item, generally reflect an upward trend over the past 5 years. Their efforts to help small businesses, entrepreneurs, the next generation of innovators is nothing short of amazing. Sitting at the table with me are the university's economic development leaders. To my right is David Spaulding. He's the endowed dean and professor of finance with the Ivey College of Business and the interim vice president of economic development and industry relations at Iowa State University. John Darcy is the chief innovation officer at the University of Iowa, and Randy Pilkington is the director of business and community services at the University of Northern Iowa. And John will start.
Thank you. Got it. Thanks. I would like to start by saying, as a 6th-generation Iowan and someone who left the state right after college and came back just 2 years ago, it's quite an honor and a little surreal to be sitting in front of you. So thank you very much. I'm going to focus on 3 things: how we got here, what we're currently doing, and what we hope to do in the future. I'm also going to close with an ask of you and why I think it's important to continue to support what we're doing at the University of Iowa on economic development. When President Harold arrived at the university, one of the things that he thought about very early on was the fact that the skills necessary to excel in research and the skills necessary to excel in economic development are not necessarily the same. So he endeavored to separate economic development from research to give it its own specific focus. Secondly, he then endeavored to hire a commercial person from private industry who had experience not only starting but scaling businesses. And finally, that person sit in the sector where 70% of the intellectual property at the University of Iowa is created, which is in healthcare. Since I've come on board in this position, we have, knowing that Iowa has limited resources, limited talent, limited capital in a lot of ways, particularly in the healthcare space, we decided to really have a laser focus on 2 areas, both of which dovetail with the Techonomy report on life sciences, so the medical device space and the ed tech space. This is the result of the change. Now, these bubbles don't represent scale, but this slide is illustrative to demonstrate that we have split economic development from research to give it its own focus. But what it demonstrates is the close collaboration between the great work done at the Papa John Entrepreneurial Center with undergraduate students, the research work, and then the economic development. And I feel like my role really is a facilitator and a coordinator to heighten the collaboration that already is going on campus every day. The first 3 things I noticed about campus is that these are the key areas that we really need to improve and develop if we're going to succeed and add more value to the state. Talent. We don't have enough talent, particularly when it comes to healthcare. We have an enormous medical school with great faculty, and yet we don't have industry in the state to really support it. So if we're going to be able to help would-be entrepreneurs move from an idea to actual impact, we have to import that talent. In that, we have to access our alumni base and others in the industry that are willing to come and support us. We've created a group of about 40 so far, 40 experts in healthcare. Now, these people are in particular not people that are executives that sat in an office for 30 years at a big company, but people that have actually scaled businesses, those who can empathize and understand what the would-be entrepreneurs go through. It's also a group of people that have the ability to help us vet IP. So we know when to say no to IP, and we also know when to strategize around IP to do more than just rubber stamp a patent. On the capital side, I've created a group of about 15 venture capitalists, 11 from Silicon Valley, 4 from the Midwest so far. These are particularly medical device expertise that we can bring to play. And the mission is to get these people to campus every single month. So we're trying to bring someone new each month to sort of influence those young entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs or the community even to understand when they need to pivot, when they might need to change, or to connect them to outside expertise or capital that they may need to move their idea forward. And finally, this all coalesces around the culture, the idea that we need to kind of transform our culture to become more willing to support the would-be entrepreneurs, to celebrate failure, knowing that failure is an intrinsic part of eventual success. One of the things that President Harold did when he came is he took the Alumni Association and the Center for Advancement and combined them. And the effort there was to create a more campus-wide focus around bringing back the talent that we have that have graduated from the University of Iowa that we can utilize, asking them how we can help them to get them more engaged, to help mentor and steer and steward these young entrepreneurs. These are the 3 major focuses that I've emphasized in the past year, and with your continued support, we'll continue to emphasize. I mentioned the Techonomy report. They came out with 2 reports in the last couple of years. One focused on the biosciences platform, in particular to the University of Iowa, the medical device focus. The second was an EdTech that was just announced by the governor about a month ago. These are 2 areas in which we have great expertise and a history of development and entrepreneurship in. I'm very pleased working with IEDA, Debbie Durham. I know we're aligned very closely with the governor and her interest in both of these 2 platforms. EdTech is one of those that we have a core strength. I wasn't able to be involved in Techonomy. I wasn't here when they did the biosciences platform, but I did sit on the work group with IEDA in EdTech. It's an area that we're really excited about. We have an enormous amount of local support and expertise in, and I see our role really as a facilitator as much as anything, to use our limited resources to help facilitate the local community and the expertise external to the university. We can use our platform to help support the growth and to bring these elements and entities together for success. In the same way, for us to be able to elevate and promote medtech innovation, we have to have a platform for prototyping. So a couple of years ago, IEDA invested in creating high-level prototyping capabilities for us, which means that we can take a physician or a staff member's idea. If they see an unmet need and they want to figure out how to solve a problem, they can come to us with an idea, and very rapidly and at a low cost, we can create a prototype of that idea. And then we can iterate on that idea with them. And we can create this sort of, again, to the cultural piece, we can have the ability to rapidly support them, recognizing their ability to solve an unmet need and then trying to address that unmet need. We've worked together with Mercy, with Unity Point on this. Civco is a local company that was started out of the university about 30 years ago that has an international presence. We work closely with them. All of the manufacturing we've been able to do so far has been done in the state of Iowa as well. And much of these programs are run by students, almost completely run by students, in fact. on this slide, this is an interesting slide because you look at the funding in the past year from our companies. We have almost no funding that we directly. So the money that you give to us is not used to support startups. It's used to facilitate the startups and steward them, but it's not used directly to invest in the startups. So we rely very heavily working with the Iowa Innovation Corporation on SBIR grants. We had 8 last year. Our average year is about 4. So I think that sets us up well going forward. But what I'm really excited about is that our startups brought in roughly $50 million new dollars into the state of Iowa last year. A lot of it came from Silicon Valley, but it also came from angels from around the country and other venture capitalists. That bodes well, I think, for us for the future. As a result of that and the impact of that, IDX, for example, created 33 new jobs after their big raise last year, all based here based in Iowa City. And IDT, a company that came out of the university decades ago, was sold for $2 billion. Every one of those employees were stockholders. So it created a new wealth in the local community that we can then turn around, hopefully, and help support the development and investment in our new startups as we come forward. Some of our startups, in particular in healthcare, do not stay in the state. We don't have an industry that can support it in every case. Tally Bio is one that had left the state but was acquired. It still brought wealth back to the state, to those founders. And finally, my ask of you is to continue to support. We have a very small budget. We operate very much like a startup. I'm comfortable with that. It's soft dollars. I know we need to produce or we won't be here any longer. So we're trying to implement that sort of mindset around campus. And if we think about the biosciences platform that you supported last year, and then the General Assembly gave us $250,000 for our platform, or $275,000. I know that you're going to go back this year. I'm requesting that you do go back and ask for that additional $750,000 for that platform. That $750,000 means nearly 30% of my entire budget in addition. So if you like what you're seeing so far, imagine that what we could do with just a little bit more money from the state. I think that you'll see real success from us in the future. Thank you. Any questions?
The ed tech sector, important part. Could you just real briefly, sorry, is that mostly online, delivering education online, standardized testing, or what's the? If you could just very briefly describe.
The genesis, many of us remember the Iowa Basic Skills Test, right? So we have this deep history in this space. And then ACT was founded in Iowa City and Pearson, and McGraw-Hill has a presence there. And then we have a number of startups. So yes, initially it was all about testing. But the startups that you see today are addressing numerous unmet needs in how you approach learning. And not only just the learning side, but workforce development. So I think there's a real opportunity to move beyond where our traditional, and this slide kind of talks a little bit about the areas that we're in, but there's a sort of an evolution in this space that's necessary. And the companies that are in this space from our sector understand they need to evolve, the existing companies, the ACTs of the world, for example. But there's a number of startups that are in very different spaces that are at the cutting edge of where EdTech is going.
I just want to thank you for your work because it's just such a good collaboration between the state of Iowa and what we need to do and what you're doing through the University of Iowa. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
There we go. President Richards, members of the Board of Regents, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about economic development activities at Iowa State University. This is really, economic development is really something deeply in our genes at Iowa State, very much a part of the land-grant mission, and we really continue to have a major focus and emphasis on our efforts to engage with the people of the state of Iowa and further develop the economy here in the state. A little later this morning, you're going to hear the region's economic impact report, and that'll give you some more detail, broader range of detail on the impact that our programs are having, our economic development activities are having at Iowa State. So about 6 years ago, President Leith decided to separate off economic development from the Vice President of Research to provide a one-stop shop for corporations who want to work with Iowa State University, bringing together all of the areas at Iowa State who are engaged in activities working with companies to develop businesses, develop jobs, and grow the economy here in the state of Iowa. So there were two questions that we were asked to address. The first question was we were asked to cover was a layman's view of how we spin our research into licenses, patents, companies, et cetera. I don't have a PhD. I'm a layman, so I understand it at this level, and I hope I can express that to you all as well. So technology transfer, a very important part of the economic growth in this country, economic growth in this state. And really very simply, when we think about how we transfer that technology, how we transfer those ideas, that can be done by a faculty member who has a new invention, writing a book or writing a paper about that invention that appears in an academic journal. It could be done by making a presentation at a conference. It could be done, and that conference could be an academic conference or a practitioner conference. It could be done by licensing that technology to an existing company, or it might be done by licensing that technology to a startup. And before any of those activities happen, we do typically protect that intellectual property through patents or other appropriate measures. And so, again, the idea of transferring is actually relatively simple, but the process to get there has many steps. And this chart's going to give you an idea, going sort of clockwise from the top, the many steps that we go through, a very rigorous process in taking an invention all the way to the point of being patent licensed to a user. So if you start again at the top with the R&D circle, our research and development efforts are funded through external research funding that we receive. President Winterstein mentioned we had a record amount of grants that we received in fiscal year 2019. From the federal funding alone, that yielded almost over $181 million in research funding for our faculty to carry out their development activities. That research may then, we hope, lead to an invention. And when a faculty member develops something new, the first step they take to indicate that they have developed something they think has a practical use at the end of the day is to file a disclosure with our Office of Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer. Last year, we had 165 disclosures filed at Iowa State, and that was up 14% over the number of disclosures filed the year before, showing the very positive trends in additional discovery across our campus in a wide variety of areas. And those disclosures are filed with our Office of Intellectual Property and Tech Transfer, a highly regarded operation both here in the state and in the region. In fact, in this past year, Drake University signed a contract to have our Office of Intellectual Property and Tech Transfer represent them in their efforts in this area, so demonstrating the strength of our operation there. Now, once that disclosure is filed, there is a rigorous process of evaluation, partnering with the faculty member to see if we can take that to the next level and actually have a discovery that should be protected, that should be patented. If they are, we protect it. In fiscal year 19, we filed 98 patents and had 32 granted by the federal government. As President Winterstein mentioned, in fiscal year 18, we ranked 69th in the country, up from 86th the year before in terms of the number of patents that we had granted, showing the breadth of and strength of the research activities at Iowa State. Now, once we protect it, we then market that technology, try to find partners who will be interested in using that technology. In the last year, fiscal year 19, in total, we had 155 licenses and option agreements outstanding with partners around our technologies. In fiscal year 19, we had 46 new agreements that were signed around our technology. 25 of those were in the state of Iowa. 4 of those involved startups at our research park. Total sales globally from our licenses last year, over 88 million. Over 8 million of that was in the state of Iowa. So I've mentioned our research park, and our research park has long been a home for companies using technology developed at Iowa State University. This creates jobs and drives the economy in the state of Iowa. The growth there over the last 6 years has been nothing but spectacular. Since 2013, we've increased the square footage at the park by 75%. Over that same period, we've increased employment at the park by 88% and more than doubled the number of tenants in the park, showing the vibrancy of the technology being created at Iowa State and the opportunity to turn that into real jobs, real businesses. Now, the park doesn't just create jobs in Ames. Companies that have locations in our research park actually operate in 53 counties across Iowa, creating economic benefit across the entire state. Also at the research park, we house our Startup Factory, which is our accelerator program where we bring startups in, give them a chance to receive training, receive mentorship, have accountability sessions. And we've had over 100 companies go through that program just in the last 3 years since it's existed. And those companies have raised over $26 million in external funding. We partnered with the Iowa Economic Development Authority 3 years ago to get a grant from them to take this program to rural Iowa. So not just concentrate that effort in Ames, but take that program to rural Iowa to help startups that could be scaled in those communities. The pilot was a success, and our SBDC is now going to be launching next year, taking that program across the state to rural communities. So the second question we were asked to answer was the return on investment from federal funding given to Iowa State University. Total external funding we raised last year, $469 million. About 51% of that came from the federal government, the rest of that from businesses, foundations, and state and local governments. We mentioned the record in external research funding for Iowa State last year. That broke a record set in fiscal year 16. So looking more directly at the impact of that federal funding, in fiscal year 19, we had a total of over $235 million of federal funding at Iowa State. That was a combination of research grants and direct appropriations from the federal government. Some of that funding involves research arrangements where we're working with institutions outside of the state of Iowa, so some of that money does flow outside of the state. But at Iowa State University, the federal funds, we estimate last year, created over $97 million in payroll, supporting almost 1,100 jobs on our campus. Over $4 million in goods and services were purchased in the state of Iowa. There was also a direct grant of $1.8 million to the research park from the federal government that was spent in Ames for a total of almost $104 million in economic impact from the university alone. We also have Ames Lab, the only U.S. Energy Department lab located on a college campus. They received over $53 million from the federal government. That resulted in $21.5 million spent on payroll, over 300 jobs created in Ames, and over $2 million in goods and services spent for a total impact of $23.5 million. So overall, over $127 million realized here in Iowa directly, and we hear more about indirects later, but directly from federal spending at Iowa State and at the Ames Lab. Our Small Business Development Center is a part of that. The State Small Business Development Center is headquartered in Ames. We then have centers, one at Northern Iowa, one at University of Iowa, two that come under Iowa State. Half their budget, or $1.2 million, comes from the federal government. It supports 17 FTEs for the organization, and last year alone, they were involved in advising across the state on 215 new business startups, over 2,200 new jobs were created, and over $170 million in increased sales for the businesses that they worked with. President Winterstein mentioned earlier our Center for Industrial Research and Service, which is an organization that works in all 99 counties in Iowa, working with small and mid-sized manufacturers primarily to help them out with a variety of issues ranging from engineering issues and challenges to strategic planning issues. In 2019, they received $3 million in federal funding. That was about half of the funding they received. And the impact is tremendous from CIRRUS. Over the last 5 years, the total economic impact from CIRRUS was over $2.5 billion. And that's based on certified agreements signed by the companies involved, validating the impact they received from CIRRUS's activities. I just mentioned briefly the Papa John Center at Iowa State plays a very important role, working across our campus and helping students develop and take their entrepreneurial visions forward. They do that through classes, through outside speakers, through pitch competitions, and through the Sci Starters program, which allows students, like the student you heard about earlier, to work on their business ideas over the summer. And so very important part of driving additional startups for us in the research park. And they actually funded in the last year 46 students having the opportunity to work as interns with small businesses in the research park. So economic development activities really critical to us at Iowa State University, a real focus for us. I thank you for this chance to talk to you about that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions? Regent Dunkel?
Great presentation, thank you. How long can a startup stay in the research, like when they begin?
Yeah, you know, our hope is that they're going to mature along and be able to pay us a market rent over time. So we do give them a break at the very beginning, but we hope they evolve to a market rent. And we then really hope that they can stay through the point of really going into production. We don't have large-scale manufacturing production in the research park. So once they go to production, they typically do need to at least set up manufacturing operations outside of the research park, but we hope to keep that activity and have been somewhat successful in keeping that activity in central Iowa as well.
Do you have any numbers on how long they stay, David? How long they're in there?
I don't, actually. I can get back to you on that.
Any other questions? Thank you. UNA.
Thank you. We always appreciate this opportunity to summarize our economic development projects and outcomes and the impact we have, especially collectively across the entire state of Iowa. Before I get started with the two areas, the research projects and the federal funding, just let me highlight just a couple of aggregate outcomes for the past year. For the 20th consecutive year, we had projects, economic development clients, and projects in all 99 counties across the state. We continue to leverage the state funding that we receive with federal funds, a lot of fee-for-service contracts, and provide a good investment for the state. We provide a rich and engaging experience for our students. Many of UNI students get an experience to work in the communities, to work in the businesses across Iowa through our economic development programs. In the area of applied research, one that you may have heard just a little bit about before is our painter training for the defense. It's called STAR4D, Spray Technique Analysis and Research for the Defense. We've worked with many bases, depots, maintenance facilities across the entire United States, and you can see the number of painters that we've trained. Let's really talk about the impact of this. We had a third party work with us on a facility in Pennsylvania that's doing Army maintenance. Just the amount of savings that were realized from the painting, the transfer efficiency, the lack of rework that was done was $500,000. That's in one maintenance facility. That's much more than we get in federal funding for this project. So it's a great return on investment. We also have worked on the transfer on different types of coatings. Military wants to move to more of a powder coating, so we're able to provide that research for them. Another area of applied research that we work extensively in is in the additive manufacturing. Our focus is on the castings industry, and it's in the supply chain, the small and mediums. We've been able to take a lot of cost out of the aggregates that go into this, but more importantly, let's go right to the impact on this slide. We know that the sand molds and sand cores, and many of you have been through the facility and seen what type of cores and molds that are printed there. That only represents about 5 to 10% of the value of the castings that are coming out of there and of the final product. So we're having an impact of $10 to $20 million in what's happening in the castings industry. Last year, Jerry Thiel, the director of that program, employed 37 students with a payroll of about $300,000. The students that graduated from this program last year had no student debt. They had 3 job offers on average and a signing bonus. That's the type of impact, not only on the industry, but on our students that are a part of this program. Federal funding examples. One is the Economic Development Administration's University Center. Now, the state of Iowa has 2 centers, one at Iowa State, one at UNI. And that's really rare across the United States. Our center this time, it's a 5-year program that's funded through the Department of Commerce, is focused on entrepreneurship and innovation. What we've learned is a lot of the existing industry calls, we find that innovation with a lot of our industrial base across the state has stalled, but economic developers don't do a very good job of digging into why that happened and what we could be doing to help them. So we've combined our visits, so you'll have Cirrus, the community college, the local economic developer, and others going together. That helps. And the second is to ask the right questions, to try to uncover what's happening in innovation. One example is a local company here working in heat treat, had some problems with testing. We're able to make a connection to the physics department at UNI that could provide that type of testing. Now we have 2 students who have been hired by that company here, and undergrads in physics, and they're working on the Mars rover, some hardening on the landing unit for that. It's just one example of what we can do with the innovation. We're also holding some innovation workshops so that small companies can understand what innovation means and how we can ramp up innovation for them. Federal funding. One that we haven't really talked about before is our Green Iowa AmeriCorps program. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this past year. And if you think about the impact of this program, and over 5,000 homes have been helped with energy efficiency, and over 500,000 hours have been placed into them. But I really like the last point there. What we've done is we've been able to leverage almost $14 million, and that's through volunteers and through companies that support this Green Iowa AmeriCorps program. So it's really been an impactful. We're pleased we've been through 10 years, and we're really looking forward to continued funding, which we have received more funding for the Green Iowa AmeriCorps, and continue that program. I wanted to just give you a brief update. I've talked in the past about our joint work with iSurf and Iowa State University Research Foundation. In intellectual property, we have a full revenue sharing agreement, which they modeled that for Drake, I'm sure, but that's what I've learned anyway. And what this is really cool is we finally now have a fully commercialized product that came out of this joint development. So we've learned how to work together on joint due diligence, on marketing. So we very much value Iowa State coming here, holding office hours, but we have one now that's moved to full fruition and commercialization. That's the knee checking on for athletic trainers and others to test for knee injuries of athletes. And then one last thought here. I can't present, even though it's a little outside of the scope, on our entrepreneurs, and especially what our students have done. I want to focus on one program, and that's the picture that you see here. We have so many students during the school year, they're working on their entrepreneurial ventures. They have to go home to their home community in the summertime to make money so they can come back in the fall and go back to college. So we had some of our former students, successful entrepreneurs, help fund us in a program last summer called the Early Founders Program. We were able to give them a stipend to keep them here for the summer, continuing to work on their business. All but one have succeeded in moving to the next level of either launching their venture, all getting revenue ready, or actually moving forward with our incubator. So we're very pleased with what's happened with this program, and it will be expanded into the future. And it's kind of fun to see your former student entrepreneurs are the ones that are supporting the future entrepreneurs, not only with mentoring, but financially. That's always been our dream. Lastly, we don't do any of this in isolation. None of our 3 universities do. We're so engaged with state organizations, as parts of the state government, business associations, and we do this in full collaboration with them and in everything we do. So, thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. Very, very good job for everyone. I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break. We'll reconvene at 25 after. That's maybe 12 minutes. We're going to start in a couple minutes. Well, we'll try again. At this time, I'd like to recognize Jason Pontius, Associate Chief Academic Officer from the Board Office, who will make the presentation on fall enrollment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to deviate from my regular pattern of presenting the fall enrollment report this year and largely let my report stand as submitted. In the board office, we call this pulling a Brad Berg. Instead, I'm going to talk about mostly a perception out there that of a coming storm in enrollment and enrollment declines over the next about 5 to 10 years. But before I can get to that, I need to talk a little bit about our current, our past, and our present enrollment trends. So in fall 2019, we saw 75,128 total enrolled students at the Regent Universities. This is our third year of decline. It also represents, though, our sixth highest enrollment in the history of the Regents. It's a 3.5% decrease from last year, but it's also a 3.3% higher than our enrollment 10 years ago. So despite some of these changes in enrollment, we do have a couple of really good areas that I want to try to highlight from the report before we move on. The first is the percent of students that identify as racial ethnic minority at the universities, and that has been a steady increase over the last 10 years, about 10% in 2010 to almost 16% in 2019. We've also seen steady increases in the percent of undergraduates choosing to major in STEM fields. The growth is evident in both sexes, though the gap in male and female has remained consistent over the last decade. And as I talk about future enrollment, I need to cover some of the context of our current enrollment to provide a little bit of background. We tend to focus a lot on the undergraduate population at the universities. A lot of the metrics that we report to the feds and also to the Board of Regents are on undergraduates, and it's for good reason. We have about 80 to 81% of our student enrollment are undergraduates. And even though enrollment has gone up and it's gone down, that percentage has remained pretty constant over the years. And as we dig into those enrollment numbers, we can see that the majority of students that we serve, by far the biggest single category, are undergraduates from the state of Iowa. That makes sense, but sometimes it's easy to get lost in kind of these grand totals that we're looking at. The next biggest group is the out-of-state undergraduates, followed by the domestic graduate professional students, and then lastly, the international students. Talk a little bit about market share when it comes to Iowa high school graduates, and this is what drives a lot of our undergraduate population, particularly obviously the Iowa resident undergraduate population. The areas circled on the bar charts are showing our market share for four-year public universities. Now, this includes not only the Regents, but other four-year publics. However, if we were a separate category, we'd be about 22% of that is kind of separated from that 25%. Our market share has generally grown a little bit over the last few years, which is kind of counter to the other trends. If you look at the community colleges, the two-year publics, those have gone down over time, and the four-year privates have also gone down a bit over time. Some of that is that there's a growth in the number of students that are not going to college for different reasons. We've talked about those in the past. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. But one of the ones that gets frequently cited is the low unemployment rate. When the job market is good, less likely to maybe go into college. As a base of operation, or kind of a base group for our undergraduate population, our Iowa resident undergraduate population, we can look at the number of Iowa high school graduates that are being generated, and that number has historically been very stable. You can see below that the number of Iowa high school graduates that are enrolling in college within a year has also been fairly stable, but that has declined a little bit. That line there from 2011 to over the 2016-17 represents a 3.7% decline. Other good news is that most of our students stay in state. We're fairly blessed in that sense, and this number has been very consistent over the last few years. Around 86 to 87% of our students who go to college decide to stay in the state of Iowa. That said, we've got some challenges coming up ahead. During the Great Recession, the number of children born dropped significantly, and around 2025, that cohort of children reached college age. You may have read or seen or heard about Nathan Graw's recent book, Demographics and the Demand for Higher Education, and his HEDI index. And it's making the rounds in higher education, making the rounds at state boards, and I want to talk just a little bit about that today, and also kind of dig into some of his numbers and how it impacts the state of Iowa. So what Graw did was looked at the decline of the U.S. population, the changes in U.S. demographics, and the historic college-going rates of different populations. And he uses those data to predict sharp declines in the college enrollment across the United States. To briefly illustrate Graw's thesis, I'm going to use two slides of Iowa data. This is projections from WICHE, the Western Interstate Commission on Higher Education. They use K-12 data to predict how many students are going to be graduating from high school and then maybe going on to college. I've shown a similar graphic to the board, I think probably a couple years ago, and I think I used it as an example of, hey, things are good. Things are very stable. What we see is there is a slight decline in the white population of Iowa residents and Iowa students going through K-12. But that's largely made up by an increase in racial ethnic minority students coming through the K-12 system. Now, Graw uses this same WICHE data, but he adds another kind of level to it. And he incorporates data showing the different populations have different college-going rates. These are the rates of Iowa high school graduates from the state of Iowa by race ethnicity. And you can see that there's a wide variation. So as our overall population remains stable but increases with populations, different racial ethnic populations, that may change some of the college-going rates slightly over time. And here is Graw's projection. Using his raw data, I was able to kind of recreate his charts. What I did do is I modified them slightly. His projections are going from 2012 to 2029, and I just updated them to the more current 2018. You can see what's going on here. It's not difficult to see that the steep downward trend starting around 2025. And it doesn't really matter which higher education sector you look at. The pattern's the same. So we see students of college age, students going to any college, four-year college, two-year college. There really is very little difference in that trend line. Now, I think Graw's analysis is very sound. I have one small quibble, and you've probably heard this from me before, but he modifies his y-axis, doesn't show a zero on the y-axis. So what I've done is I've then adjusted this. What he has provided, it makes for a slightly more dramatic downturn. Here is that same downturn adjusted. It is still a 12% decline from 2018 going forward, and this is the national data again. It's still kind of a frightening downturn. However, it's certainly a lot less dramatic looking than the kind of the steep cliff that's shown in the book. Here are the trend lines using GRAW's data on Iowa high school graduates attending a four-year college. GRAW breaks it out into three categories. There's regional, national, and elite. Now, these categories are determined by GRAW. He uses U.S. News and World Report rankings. So if a school or college is in the top 50 in the U.S. News and World Report, they would be considered an elite four-year. An example in Iowa would be Grinnell College falls into that category. National four-year would be at 51 to 100. That would include like University of Iowa, and depending on what year you're looking at, also Iowa State, Luther College, and Drake. And then the regional four-year colleges are any of the four-year schools that are outside of that top 100. Now, the U.S. News and World Report was used, as I said, as a proxy, and what he's trying to get at in this case is not so much the ranking or the reputation, but more the ability to draw students from outside a geographic area. So it's kind of the enrollment diversity, the ability to poll nationally. The idea being that if you're able to do that, you're much more likely to weather any kind of more localized storm as far as enrollment declines. And you can see, based on his projections, that enrollment at elite four-year institutions is actually expected to either be stable or go up a little bit. Now, if you apply GRAW's predictions for future numbers of Iowa resident freshmen, we can see kind of wide variations from year to year. This graph starts with the number of Iowa resident freshmen in 2018, of the 7,692, and projects out the number of Iowa freshmen expected to change from year to year. This is a rough estimate because we're taking his expected changes from year to year for all four-year enrollment in the state of Iowa. But it gives an idea of where we're going with some of this in the future. Iowa's pattern is a lot more of a sawtooth than you'd expect or that you see in other states. And I honestly don't know what's driving all of that, but just, again, going back to his demographics and his predictions. The good news is that some of these fluctuations tend to average out a little bit. The bad news is that there seems to be, in some of these cases, fluctuations from one year to the next of up to like 1,000 students. Another way of looking at that same data is just showing the total projected enrollment. And while there's a 13% decline over this 2018 to 2029, we can see year to year different variations and kind of jumps going up and down in the future. When there's a decline in in-state students, it often is a strategy to recruit out of state. The regions do attract students from all 50 states, and most of those students are coming from our neighbor states like Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. The problem is that these declines are showing nationally. The dark red states show the greatest decline between 2012 and 2029, while the green areas show areas of growth. It's one thing to point out that some of those areas of growth are masked slightly by the numbers. So, for example, Texas is showing in the green. Their growth is showing from 2012 to 2029, but when you project up to 2018 to 2029, most of that growth goes away, and in some cases you're seeing declines in some of their population areas. Our single largest out-of-state source of enrollment and for the regions is Illinois. And the problem is that Illinois is going to get hit harder than most as far as states. So we're seeing about a 19% decline from students attending a four-year college out of Chicago, and about a 33% decline for non-Chicago Illinois, with an overall 22% decline. What adds complexity to this situation is that the University of Illinois system is embarking on a 5-year plan to grow their enrollment by 15%. The University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign just broke 50,000 for the first time, I think, in their history. So they're actively trying to grow at the same time their statewide population is declining. Now, GRAW's analysis only looks at U.S. students, and we've also been seeing declines in international student enrollment at the regions. For the regions, there's been a 40% decline in students from China since 2013. Nationally, Chinese students make up about a third of international students that study in the United States, and this enrollment decline has been seen nationally. However, it has been more pronounced in the Midwest and in the Northeast. This decline is also greatest among the Chinese undergraduate students. And the question we always get is, why are we seeing this decline? And there's lots of reasons. The surveys I've seen talk about students from China citing cost, perceptions of safety, visa problems, real or perceived, competition from other colleges, and also that, frankly, China is doing a really good job of growing their own institutions. And so more students are more likely to want to go stay home and go to college. I have found a UK study that estimates that the college-age population in China was projected to decline by more than 40% between 2010 and 2025. I haven't seen confirmation of that, but it seems like if that's true, then they're seeing a similar sort of decline that we are. So I want to end here by just showing some historical context. Yes, we are looking probably at a decline starting around 2025. It's still well above numbers from the 90s. And if you look at the late 80s, early 90s, you will see a very, very similar pattern. We have been through kind of this decline before. It's been about 35 years, but I think we can make it through. And I recognize that decline in the 90s because that's Generation X, and I'm a member of that group. So small but mighty group. And with that, I will end my slightly doom and gloom presentation and take any questions from the group.
Thank you, Jason. Would anybody have a question? Regent Barker.
So these demographic declines are in the future and not happening yet, but we're seeing some declines just over the last 3 years. What are the, other than the international students, what are the main reasons for the decline we've seen just over the last few years?
Yeah, that's correct. We haven't gotten to the point where we're seeing some of those declines that GRAW is projecting. So the declines right now, I don't want to get into too much speculation, but I do know that there's a lot greater kind of competition kind of nationally for students. And I think probably a lot of it's stemming from that. But it's complex. There's people that universities are managing their enrollment, and we've also seen kind of a pervasive narrative, and you don't need college in order to have a good career, which might be affecting some of it, along with the economy that I mentioned earlier.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Keith Saunders, who will introduce the speaker for the Region Economic Impact Study.
Good morning. For the past several months, the board office and the universities have been working with a data analytics or a labor analytics firm, MC from Idaho, to do a economic impact and return on investment analysis for the 3 universities and the board combined. With me today is Hannah Ruffridge, who is the Assistant Director of Consulting for Higher Education at MC. Hannah has overseen over 70 projects for MC, including projects at Illinois, Syracuse, and the Ohio Public Universities. She has a bachelor's in mathematics and animal veterinary sciences, also a master's degree in applied economics as well. Before I turn it over to Hannah, I would like to thank the teams on our campuses that helped with this. Lots and lots of data collection and analysis happened on the campuses. At the University of Iowa, John Darcy and Jeff Keeter. at Iowa State, John Lawrence and Lisa Lorenzen, who has moved on to a new position, and at UNI, Randy Pilkington and Christian Moser. So, Hannah, thank you for being here, and it's up. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me out in Iowa. It's snowy. I did not expect that flying in. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the economic impact of Iowa's Regent universities. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about EMSI. We've actually been doing these economic impact studies since the year 2000. We just completed our 2000th economic impact study this year across colleges and universities. We've conducted impact studies for 31 statewide systems across the United States. We also do studies in the UK and Canada as well. Institutions come to us not just because we're objective, but also because we employ a conservative methodology. We like to look at the added income to the state rather than sales. We also employ counterfactual scenarios of what if the universities did not exist. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that later on. For our economic impact study, it's really composed of two parts. We have the economic impact analysis. And for this analysis, we're looking at the scenario of what if the Regent universities did not exist. How would the economic activity change within the state economy? For the second analysis, we look at return on investment. What's the return on investment to the three primary stakeholder groups of the universities? Students, taxpayers, and then society as a whole. But first, before we get into the results, let's look at the backdrop of the analysis, the state of Iowa. As you can see here, as you achieve higher levels of education, you tend to make more money. The gross state product for the state came to $191.8 billion in 2018, and the total jobs within the state was just over 2 million jobs in the workforce. That's an example of some of the external data that we're gathering, but we also gather some internal data from each of the institutions. In FY fiscal year 2017-18, the university served over 85,000 credit students and over 4,000 non-credit students. They employed over 35 employees with a payroll of $2.9 billion. Tuition came to almost $870 million, much of which came from those out-of-state students, a complete new injection of money into the state economy. In fact, the Regent universities have proven themselves to be destination institutions. 40% of the students are coming from outside the state. Here's a quick overview of the results. I'll go into a little bit more detail later on, but in fiscal year 2017-18, the Regent universities added $11.8 billion to the state economy that would not have been there otherwise. This represents 6.2% of Iowa's gross state product, and is equivalent to saying that they are supporting almost 150,000 jobs within the state economy. On the investment side of the house, the return on investment for students came to 3.7 for a benefit cost ratio, meaning for every dollar that your students invest in their education at the universities, over the course of their working lifetime, they'll receive $3.70 back for that investment. Taxpayers came to 2.9 for every dollar invested by taxpayers, and society as a whole for Iowa came to 4.5. Now let's talk a little bit about how we calculate these economic impact results. For the impact of that $11.8 billion, we break it out into quite a few different types of impacts that we're looking at. The first one is the operation spending impact. For the operation spending impact, we're going to be looking at what's the impact of the university simply operating, paying your employees, buying chairs, desks, computers, all that has an impact on the state economy. When you pay your employees then go and say they go and dine out at a restaurant. Well, the restaurant has to restock their supplies of food from their supplier has to reach out to their supplier, and there's that ripple or multiplier effect that occurs down the supply chain simply from paying your employees. The same can hold true for the non-pay expenditures as well. So the total added income in fiscal year 2017-18, in terms of an operation spending impact, came to $1.9 billion in added state income. And I do want to emphasize that this is in terms of income, not in terms of sales. The best way I found to describe this is with an example. There's a baker. A baker buys flour for $3, bakes his bread, sells it for $5. That's $8 in sales transactions that just occurred. But what the baker's actually adding to the state economy is the $2 in profit or income from baking that bread. That's what we're measuring here. So we're measuring that money that is staying within the state of Iowa, not leaking out, and we're not simply rearranging the furniture and calling that an impact. This is money that would not have been there otherwise. To that point, as I said earlier, for this analysis, we're looking at what if the universities did not exist? Well, if the universities did not exist, some of that in-state revenue that they then spent to create this $1.9 billion impact could have created an impact anyway. It could have been spent by your in-state taxpayers, by students. That money would have created an impact on Iowa's economy even without the universities. So we actually measure that alternative impact. We call it an alternative use of funds, and we subtract it out. So this $1.9 billion is a net figure that is much more accurate for what the universities are truly adding to the state economy. This is equivalent to saying that they're supporting almost 22,000 jobs within the state simply through their operational spending. The next impact is the construction spending impact. This is very similar in methodology to the operations spending impact, except we're simply looking at the construction-related expenditures and the industries that spending is shocking. The construction spending impact came to $132.7 million in added state income, equivalent to supporting 2,000 jobs. And again, we have that alternative use of funds. The next one is the hospital and clinic spending impact, UIHC. The impact from the operations of the hospital and the clinic came to $1.5 billion. Again, this includes those multiplier ripple effects, equivalent to supporting over 21,000 jobs within the state. Research spending impact. Again, I'm getting a little bit repetitive here, but for the research spending impact, we're simply looking at those research-related activities and the spending from those activities, and we're shocking those industries that are related to those research activities. So the research spending impact, again, we have those multiplier effects, that alternative impact that we're looking at came to $730 million within the state economy. The next one is the value of extension and outreach, and this impact can be very difficult to quantify just from the nature of the activities of extension and outreach. But we do want to mention it and to have it acknowledged because it is an important part, as I've heard from previous speakers, of the universities. In fact, the universities helped over 13,000 companies and organizations and tens of thousands of farmers across the state through these activities. Economic development impact. There are already a couple of presentations on this, and we use some of that data that you've already heard. But this stems from the startup and spinoff companies, from the centers across the state, the small business development centers, as well as other centers. By employing new people and creating these jobs, that's an impact on the state economy. In FY 2017-18, this type of activity added $1 billion to the state, equivalent to supporting 14,500 jobs. Visitor spending impact. So just by hosting events, whether sports events, conferences, commencement, you're attracting visitors that are coming from outside the state. When those visitors come from outside the state, they're bringing money with them and spending it on restaurants, on gas, on Just entertainment activities. That's a completely new injection of money into the state economy that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So that spending, along with the multiplier ripple effects, came to $38.1 million being added to the state. Value of volunteerism. This is one that can also be difficult to quantify, but we do want to recognize its importance within the study. In FY 2017-18, there were 45,000 student and employee volunteers at the universities. They donated 2.3 million hours of time to the communities, organizations, individuals. If we look at the value of an hour and compare that to the number of hours, you come up with $54.2 million in just value to the state economy. A student spending impact, similar to the visitor spending impact, and one way that we're looking at those out-of-state students that then relocate and come into the state of Iowa, so there's 40% of students, how many of them actually relocated into the state and they're spending on the state resources. We also look at retained students, so a portion of the in-state students that would have left the state if Iowa's universities did not exist. So maybe they go to the other surrounding states in their universities, or they work outside the state. The point is they're taking their spending money with them, and that is taken away from the state of Iowa. The student spending impact, along with those multiplier effects, came to $232.9 million, equivalent to supporting 5,500 jobs. And finally is the alumni impact. And the alumni impact is really the heart and soul of the universities. For this impact, it's a little different from the previous ones in that we're measuring the impact from 30 years worth of alumni, but we're measuring their impact during 1 year, fiscal year 2017-18. So this is an annual impact. And by impact, I mean their higher earnings. If you recall back to that graph of as they achieve higher levels of education, they tend to make more money. That's what we're looking at here, is that increase, that incremental difference in earnings that they'll be earning. We also look at the increased business profits because you're producing that talented human capital for the workforce in Iowa. This impact came to $6.2 billion. Again, we employ some counterfactual scenarios here, such as alternative education opportunities as well as substitution of labor. This is equivalent to supporting over 74,000 jobs within the state. If we sum up all those impacts, you arrive at the $11.8 billion being added to the state economy in fiscal year 2017-18. This is an annual impact. This represents 6.2% of the gross state product in the state of Iowa. It's also equivalent to supporting almost 150,000 jobs. Another way to say this, and my personal favorite, is that 1 out of every 14 jobs in the state is in some way supported by the activities of the universities and their students, directly or indirectly through those multiplier effects. You're in some way helping support 1 in every 14 jobs is touched by you guys. You can see here the graph. This is just showing the different industries and impact by industry. So your spending and your alumni, for example, in the healthcare and social assistance industry, is helping support 25,000 of the 150,000 total jobs that you support. Okay, switching gears a little bit to the investment analysis side. For the investment analysis side, we're going to be looking at from 3 perspectives: students, taxpayers, and society. We'll be looking at the costs and the benefits incurred by each stakeholder. So for students, I'm going to go ahead and start with costs. You have your obvious costs: tuition and fees, books and supplies. We even include costs, interest incurred on student loans. We also include a not so obvious cost of opportunity costs. So because these students are in the classroom learning rather than working, they're actually giving up money that they could have made had they been working instead. And that's a cost to your students. So in FY 2017-18, the total cost for your students came to $1.8 billion. for the Regent universities. The benefits, the higher future earnings. Because of their education, they're now more valuable in the workforce and can make more money. If we compare those costs to the benefits, you arrive at a 3.7 benefit cost ratio. For every dollar students invested in their education in FY 2017-18, over the course of their working lifetime until they retire, they'll earn $3.70 back for that dollar invested. Or for every $10,000 invested, they'll receive $37,000 back. This is an internal rate of return of 14.4%, which if you compare to other investment options that students have, I believe the 30-year average on the stock market is 9.9%. So investing in their own education at the Regent universities is the best investment. Taxpayer perspective. So taxpayers are a big stakeholder for the universities, and in terms of costs, $710.9 million was received for revenue from the state government in FY 2017-18. But taxpayers are also experiencing benefits from the universities and their students. It's really twofold. The first part is the future tax revenues. As your students enter the workforce and they make more money, they're going to be paying more in taxes. Maybe that they're in a higher income tax bracket. They're probably spending more money, so they're paying more in sales tax. There are lots of taxes associated with making more money. The second part is the government savings, and this is a little bit smaller of a chunk of the pie here for the benefits. But for the government savings, there are lots of studies out there that show as students become more educated, they tend to commit fewer crimes, they tend to be healthier, they tend not to need income assistance from welfare, unemployment insurance. And those are savings to the taxpayers. Comparing those costs to benefits, again, you arrive at a benefit cost ratio of 2.9. In other words, for every dollar that your taxpayers invested in the Regent universities in FY 2017-18, over the course of that cohort of students' working lifetime, taxpayers will receive $2.90 back for their investment. Or for every $10,000 they invest, they'll receive $29,000 back for their investment. That's a 7.9% internal rate of return. And finally, the social perspective. The social perspective really captures everything. So for costs, we're looking at all the student costs. We also look at all the costs, the expenditures of the universities. What did it cost them to create all these benefits for Iowa? For benefits, you have the higher earnings of the students, you have the added tax revenues, you have the government savings, you also have private savings from not committing crimes, from being healthier. You also have an increased economic base, and this is stemming from your impact analysis at $11.8 billion. So for society as a whole of Iowa, for every dollar invested into the universities, they'll receive $4.50 back. And there's no internal rate of return here because the investors, that group, is not necessarily the same as the beneficiaries. All right, so in summary, in FY 2017-18, the universities added $11.8 billion to the state economy and income. This is equivalent to supporting almost 150,000 jobs within the state, meaning that 1 out of every 14 jobs is in some way, directly or indirectly, supported by the universities. For the return on investment to your stakeholders, it's positive across the board. The benefit cost ratio for students came to 3.7, taxpayers 2.9, and society as a whole in Iowa came to 4.5. Thank you for having me out today. Are there any questions?
Thank you, very interesting. Questions? Regent Barker.
Well, thank you, and I really appreciated the conversations that we had about this over the last few months, and I appreciate the conservative approach that you took to this. There are a lot of really tricky methodological and even philosophical issues involved in a study like this. And it's easy to just pick the assumptions that will give the biggest impact. And I have seen studies like that before.
Yes.
But I think you have taken a conservative approach and even explained carefully even more conservative approaches that could be taken in the report. But no matter how you look at it, no matter how much you try to take the devil's advocate position and tear it apart, which I tried to do, the universities turn out to be a great investment and very positive return for the state of Iowa. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Other comments? Regent Butker?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this report. I'm so glad we had them to do it because I think this is a message we really need to get out to the public much more than we ever have. I mean, I think this broad impact that the universities have is the everyday person on the street doesn't even think about this at all. And I think it's really important that we get this to the legislature, to the public in general at all of our opportunities. So thank you very much for giving us the tools to do that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Regent Bates?
Thank you. Extremely interesting and very educational. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate where you went state by state, or county by county also, so that it's a statewide impact. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before this board? Hearing none, this meeting of the Board of Regents, State of Iowa, is adjourned.